Hi everybody, Greg Williams here, and I'm with Heber Ticas. We're in Dallas, Texas at Pathway of Grace Church, and today we had an outreach. We had bouncy houses for the kids, we had water balloon tosses, we had all kinds of crazy stuff, we had some rain. Tell us about why we're really here. What was the real purpose?
Beyond the bounce houses, beyond the balloons, and beyond all that, there was also an expression of being the church where Pastor Gabriel Oji and Pathways of Grace Church expressed their heart towards this community by engaging the needs in the community. Look what they're having.
Yes.
They had a family fun day today. They're having a blessing of children tomorrow, vacation Bible school. We engage the community in ways that are really positive,
right, and
in ways that they were able to find out what the needs of the community were. I mean, praying for people on the streets, giving out free bottles of water, just engaging folks from door to door, getting out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
It was an amazing experience.
Well, and I know also, Heber, that we brought in a few pastors from other churches in the region too, so they could be on the ground and experience this as well.
We did an outreach program today for Pathways of Grace in the east side of Dallas, and I knocked on a door, and this young man answered the door. And I handed him a pamphlet and told him that we were having an activity today, and there would be food there and activity, give me a chance to meet the church and the members of the church. And he humbly and excitedly accepted the flyer. I had a good talk with him about some of the things he's been through, and he's been here for the rest of the day, and the rest is history. So this is Emmett.
Yeah, my name is Emmett. I've been here for 2 years. Here's survived Hurricane Katrina. My mom and dad passed away in New Orleans. I've been by myself for almost like around 5 years old. I'm living by myself, living in a halfway house.
He came here and got him some food, gave him a shirt. He needed a shirt. And he has been dancing for us and playing games and integrating into the congregation and making new friends. So we hope that God has answered our prayer for this young man and he has found a family.
Can you imagine this? Pastors going out on the streets, knocking on doors, participating with this church, just kind of feeling that out, what that ambiance and what that feels like. And I mean, they were blessed by doing that.
Absolutely. So among all this outreach and engaging the community, all the fun that we had with the Family Fun Day and all of this, we're trying to connect with real people, with real needs, and connect them to the heart of Jesus.
I mean, this is what Jesus did. He went out to help people who need to be helped. And that's what we're doing here today. God gave me this young man as a gift. It's an amazing thing to see the change even in 12 hours. I came up here to help the church, and I think it was just providential that Emmett and I met. So it's been a really cool experience to see.
Yes, give God a hand for that. That was one of the outreaches we did with the church in Dallas, and several of the churches from the region participated, and I think Heber will have a little bit more to say about that in a little bit. CAD, Church Administration and Development, yes. And so this afternoon, the speakers you're going to hear from, on the schedule said TED Talks, and some people thought that meant that Ted Johnston was going to be here, but a TED Talk is usually about a 12 to 15-minute talk that gives you insights, really concise. So I've asked our development team, which involves Heber Ticas and Anthony Mullins and Jeff McSwain, to speak to you today about some of the areas that we provide through church administration and development for the high support of our pastors and our congregations and some of the things that are going on. And I really do appreciate all three of these men, the gifts they bring, the experiences they bring. They really do elevate the services that we're able to provide for our pastors. And so if you would, let's give them a big round of applause. Yes. And for the first TED Talk, I'll ask my brother Heber Ticas to come forward. We've never had anybody get that kind of response at a conference before. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Yeah. That's got to be because of my daughter, Ashley. No, I received that. Well, I thought I was going to be talking about Greg and tell you all the cool stories about our time in Dallas outside the walls and how sweaty he was and doing one of these jobs and giving out bottles of water out in the street, and it was drinking one and giving one out. That was a lot of fun. Great. Well, I lead Church Multiplication Ministries, and it's a privilege and it's a pleasure to be able to do that, and to be able to just visit our pastor. I've been around the country and in some of our congregations, and just feel privileged to be able to come in and whatever gifts the Lord has given me to come and participate and kind of learn in community, because I'm kind of learning with some of the stuff that we're doing as well. So that's always a privilege. What you just saw is one of the videos of one of the services that we provide with CMM, which we call it Outside the Walls, and it is a collaborative effort within the development team. So you'll see how those things kind of overlap. So I want to talk about a few things that we're doing to provide high support to our congregations, and like Greg mentioned yesterday, the high support that we may provide to a particular church or a grouping of churches is always going to go behind some challenges. We're always going to be challenging as well. Because if we're just providing high support and there's no challenge behind that, there's a disconnect. And we're not also going to seek out a lot of challenge without no support behind that. That would be a disconnect as well. So some of the things that we're providing high support, some of the ways and means that we're doing them, I am partnering, or CMM is partnering with church planners and church planting teams to bring high support to them through consulting. So right now I'm working with a couple of teams that are planting churches. It's in the beginning stages, but we're working on it, and you'll hear more throughout the month, hopefully, and hopefully we can get a couple of church plants up, if God willing, if the Spirit leads in that direction this year, if possible. So the way that we provide that high support to church planners and church planting teams is that they will have consulting all through their process, from the initial stage, from what we call the prenatal stage, all the way out to a church launch, and even after the church is launched. They'll get video consulting from me. They'll get training from me. I'll come out and I'll walk with them. They'll also get a coach. So I would walk with a church planner from day one all the way until they have a proposal or a development plan, and to putting that into action and just be available for them. So we provide that high support for church planting teams. We are thankful for those congregations that are currently coming behind mothering churches, giving support to a church plant. We actually have 2 churches doing that right now. So that's a blessing as well. So if anyone wants information in regards to what that looks like, please talk to me, email me, look for me, and we can definitely talk about it. Another way that we're providing high support from CMM standpoint is we're partnering with the regional pastors. So I work with the regional pastors to identify renewal churches. That's one of the things that we're doing. And I've been working with Ted Johnson quite often, with Mike Rasmussen. I've recently been working with Rick Schallenberger with this process of identifying and supporting churches. So what we want to do is kind of identify these churches and bring high support to them, and also bring high challenge to them. And we're doing this through what you saw on the video, through the Outside the Walls package. So what does it look like? Well, the way that it looks like is this. A regional pastor who knows his congregations, we will talk together, we will identify these churches, and we would group about 4 to 5 congregations together, and they will go through about 12 video consulting sessions with me and the regional pastor. And it's broken down into 3 parts. The video consulting that I do pre-Outside the Walls, meaning there's about 6 video calls that we do to the point where we have the actual event, which is the Outside the Walls event with training. The big idea behind that is to bring in pastors, and then that regional pastor can bring in others as well to come and observe. But the big idea is to have training that is theory-based of what a renewal church looks like and what should be the posture of a renewal church. But not just that. We do that on Friday all day, and then on Saturday, we go outside the walls. We go and engage the community, and that's what you saw in the video. And we do it by knocking on doors. We do it by offering bottles of water, building relationships. That's really what we're trying to do. Now, some people have said, well, is that really effective? Does that really work? Well, just come to my church at some point, and it works. Or just talk to some of the pastors that have gone through that. It really works. But another issue that we really need to address is that the concept that if we're growing a church within, we need to be community oriented, meaning that if we're a commuter church coming from all over the place, it's kind of hard to grow a church in your own community. So you have to start engaging your immediate community. Amen. So that's the big idea. So after the actual event, then we would have another 6 sessions of consulting. And to get that church, the host church, and the other 3-4 churches that come around, that grouping of churches, to get them to a point that they have what I call a map, a ministry action plan. So I will work with that church for them to have a 12 to 18-month ministry action plan. So that's the package, the high support package that we're bringing to certain congregations that can go through a renewal process. Now, I just want to just say this, and I say this in grace. I mean, it's not for all congregations, because maybe not all churches will have the critical mass or the infrastructures or the teams to be able to do this. But those that do, we're leaving it up to the regional pastors to work with their congregations. And CAD through CMM wants to bring this high support. Amen? So that's what you saw in that video. And I can tell you some cool stories that's been happening with some of these churches that have been going through outside the walls. We've already done 2 of these. We did the first one in Dallas. Pastor Gabriel Oji out of that church, he hosted it. And the second one that we did was in Cincinnati, where Pastor Dustin Lampe in the Cincinnati congregation hosted that. And the results that we've had in both cases, man, I'm so pleased. And to me, it's been phenomenal with the shifting that's happening in those congregations. And that high support comes with high challenge. My desire is that we develop, that we recruit, that we develop, and we send church planners and church planting teams. Multiplication at all levels. That is the challenge. We're also journeying with the regional pastors to equip the regional pastors as well together in community and help them to continue to provide high support to renewal churches and the second set of renewal churches that may come behind the first set of churches that we're working with. So I'm working with the regional pastors to be able to do that, to provide support. And when we overlap with Jen Min and even with Jeff and the internship program, well, we're doing that as well to come about as one and bring the support as one. We also want to provide leadership to make the work of multiplication at all levels easier. That's what CMM wants to do. Provide leadership to make the work of multiplication at all levels, multiplying disciples, multiplying workers, multiplying leaders and ministries, and multiplying churches. To make that work a little bit easier for pastors and congregations and even for a grouping of churches. And also, not just that though, but also to make that sense of complacency harder for everyone. We're going to bring that challenge out. It's not okay to be stagnant. Okay, so CMM's about that. We're not going to be static. So we'll bring that challenge. Also, we want to bring challenge to the body and to the renewal churches, in particular to recruit, develop, equip, and send church planners and church planting teams. That is my prayer. That is my goal. That is my desire. Amen? So from a CMM standpoint, that's the high support that we're bringing to congregations. And you will hear more stories with what's going on with outside the walls and how congregations are starting to engage their community missionally. If you want to know a little bit more, come to my workshops. God bless.